If this Vanguard Premium event 2026 is nothing but a glorified Vanguard Day, I swear to Harmonix Messiah. Okay, jokes set aside. Lately, the community has been feeling it. Players are frustrated, content creators are expressing their thoughts. Some recent examples, Outer Orange, WCC Kai, Dragnoa, many others too. And they've all voiced their concerns, and honestly, they're right. Premium has been in limbo for far too long, it feels like. And we finally got this announcement, but without any details such as cards, what is it? And yet we are asked to wait again more. All right, so instead of just complaining, let's talk solutions. I've got 5 things that Bushiroad can do to actually revamp Premium and bring it back stronger than ever. Because I don't want to see this game take another hit. I want to see it thrive as well. So number 1 is having an intentional ban list that is frequent enough, ideally every 3 months. So quarterly in a year, essentially. Part of the reason for this is because one ban list doesn't always solve for everything. As we saw with May, people were pretty overjoyed for something to change, but that was pretty short-lived once we realized that loop decks can now run amok, right? This could have been mitigated 3 months later too, which would have been August. Yeah, which would have been August at this point, and then we would have had another ban list this month in November. But again, nothing has changed for 6 months basically at this point too. So it's not just the ban list suggestion, it's actually just being diligent every so often to do a bunch of taps where they're actually needed, making this a format a lot more exciting to play. Some decks can also breathe, and if there's a real problem, it can get addressed ASAP rather than a year later or two. Number 2 is new product and even just better entry product in the terms of master deck sets, but for premium. So I'm hitting 2 points here. For the longtime players, the veterans that have been playing premium, most of us would like new stuff just in general. Yes, there's erratas. Yes, we can use D-series cards to an extent, but not everything is super translatable, and it also just doesn't feel naturally, whereas we had specific catered premium product like premium collections, it just feels like a whole format just changed overall, which is refreshing. This could include a multitude of things. This could be like cards in the G zone, so strides, G-Gerts, perhaps more different mechanics that can be generically used. You could have specific limitations. Energy, the energy mechanic has always been thrown around lately too. You could have energy in premium, but maybe you limit it with certain starters, maybe a certain ride line or etc. There's ways to just revamp a format entirely with the inclusion of product, of course. And kind of piggybacking on my prior point is that if anything was ban worthy or needs to be adjusted, having the frequent ban lists hits would actually do something about that. So if people have this well, it's really hard to design premium because you have to think about this factor, and then sometimes some things aren't really thought of, and this could be harmful for the game state. Yes, but that hasn't stopped them from doing other cards like Aquaforce, Genovius with the Excel Circle, and Odysseus is F4 type of deal. It hasn't really stopped them from doing something like that and actually addressing it later anyway, which they did. I think that format only lasted a few months, maybe 2 months at most. But again, with frequent ban lists, that new product, the new format would be addressed if any issues do happen. Now for the newer players, it's more like having the introduction product. These master deck sets that had came out with standard were definitely a good step in the right direction. And that's totally kudos to Bushiroad making progress on that. But let's have it in premium. We've had something very close to it with the Musketeers, the Revengers, and even the Jewel Knights deck sets, the premium deck sets. And it was close. The one thing that I would add is that make these complete deck sets just like the master deck sets. People can genuinely have 4 copies of a certain card and play the deck and actually just run with it. And if they decide to maybe add some different generic text from booster sets, they can do so, right? Why not? And again, for the love of Messiah, please have some foils. Just opening a master deck set with just commons was very underwhelming from that aspect. I made an entire video of that versus Yu-Gi-Oh's recently big win with the Chronicles deck, that literally for the same value, you get a full-blown deck with all the cards being foiled. Check that out later. And it's with that caveat that Bushiroad does need to step up their game. It's not just sufficient oh, here's a master deck set in premium. It's complete, but don't just make it good. Make it where people can just buy it, and if it's $60, $80, it's complete. And then have some foils at the very minimum, ideally as many foils as you want for that price range. It's doable. Take out the sleeves or take out anything that's not really needed, and most likely other players are going to buy their own sleeves that they like. They're going to use their own counters. So just focus on the cards themselves and it will do much better. I remember when you get in the Revengers deck set, I'm like, you're only getting 3 mana? Like, really? Like, you're forced to buy 2 at that point if you want your guaranteed 4 mana for Revengers, which is a reprint that hadn't happened for 10 years, basically. Number 3 is just having more events to play premium. Like we saw with the decrease of events just being discouraging for people. People felt like if they were going to fly out, now they're not getting to play 2 events in a single weekend. Realistically, some of that was make or break. And I understand that people already fly out for just 1 event for other TCGs. But that was something that Vanguard was already doing this past year, and it was doing it right. I felt it was a good bridge where longtime players, not only there for their premium fix, but they can also try out standard. Might as well, I'm already here, just pick up a deck and play standard. And if you're coming from premium, like it's not that hard to pick up a standard deck and run with it. And if you're a standard player and you had some genuine interest of trying out premium, that was your weekend to not only play to your heart's content with standard, but for you to try out premium with whatever you want to play with. So it was a good bridging type of event structure that they should do moving forward more consistently. With more events too, it gives more data for these more frequent ban lists too, and you can have players and decks actually breathe to flesh out and make adjustments as needed too. It also feels more exciting just knowing that an event's coming up, and especially if you don't have to travel so far for it. I mean, obviously inflation has gone up, things cost more, so it's just like, do I really want to pay X amount of money just to fly out there in a format that I may not be as excited, or maybe less opportunities to play Vanguard in a tournament scene? Those things come to mind, right? And so that's why it's important just to have more events overall. With that being said too, number 4 is just having live coverage consistently through these regional events. YCS Pittsburgh just happened and they had multiple YouTubers use the official Yu-Gi-Oh channel to live stream both days. So like, why can't we do that a little more often? I know on the Europe side, Echo has done some of the events as well on his end, but this should be a lot more easier for just Bushiroad having creators come on board on the different regionals, even in the USA, Asia, you name it, and just have more coverage. This in turn will help just having more exposure with the game, even if you're not there. This is imperative for people that genuinely want to see Vanguard in action, but may not be able to play it in the moment, or maybe their event is not coming up yet. Or if you're like the competitive player, you want to know what's actually being played. You want to see the action, you want to prep, you want to increase your chances of doing well at your event that's coming up soon too. So live coverage is a big win if we have more consistently. And overall, it just makes it easier. Players just trying to find out what's being played. I mean, they did a big win with publishing the deck list on the website, like the entire deck list, but just seeing it in action with players actually using the deck, it does a lot of wonders. And this might be the make or break deal too for somebody that it's kind of teetering the fence if they should travel for events or maybe just play in the format. But if they see the format for themselves, even through a stream, that might just encourage them to actually just go play themselves because they're excited to. At number 5, I think it's cool to experiment with new rules with side events. So people go to these regionals with the main events in mind, but having side events besides just more standard events, essentially, I think it would be cool just have some kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis style rules or events or card pulls and things like that. Recently, that has been getting a lot of good traction lately, and they've already done it with the recent regionals too, but also people playing locally at the locals level, especially here in the Chicago area. People are having fun. They're experimenting, they're trying new things. It's reinvigorating too. So let's like creativity side. And sometimes players aren't always just wanting to go to the main event and try to top. It's more just like trying to do their best in something that they can pour their creativity into as well. And I think those side events with more creative rules, formats, card pulls would be really good. A good idea from Vambros, for example, is, I've heard of this recently, it was the premium concept. You can check out their channel, their video. He goes over more of the logistics, but like just the premium in a concept, like what comes to mind when I hear that, I think about, here's the D series cards. Why don't we just slap a G zone on top of it? And it can be like a cutter deck that uses Gold Paladins, or it can use Angel Feather, or it can use Royal Paladin, and etc., right? Same thing for like Dark States with like Pale Moon or Spike Brothers and etc., right? And maybe you could introduce the caveat of like using energy. Maybe that could be a way for them to try out something at the side event level and see if that they want to push that as a new main format moving forward for the next season. Konami's already doing with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesis formats and events at the YCSs. I don't see why Bushiroad couldn't do it, right? Maybe not for this season, or maybe at the local game store level, they can start those too. Those were my 5 thoughts that really can push this game from the premium aspect to be more exciting, be able to thrive again, and prevent less taking of a hit. I think people are just frustrated that nothing has really changed. People are, to an extent, are quitting, or people are taking a break, or people are not as excited, or people just have switched over to standard completely. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that if you can play both formats, why not? You can play as much Vanguard as you want to, a variety of ways. It was also odd that, like with the Bushiroad content creator program, that if you wanted to do like live coverage or something like that to that aspect, it's an entire different conversation, which I felt was kind of misaligned. I feel like that they can fall into place where why can't creators not only vlog for themselves, but why not just work in tandem with Bushiroad to just do live coverage more consistently? I feel like that's a beautiful thing if Bushiroad can set it up where you could do the official channel, the English one at least, and then have local creators or creators that fly in, if they're so happen to fly into that regional, that they can actually commentate or maybe just interview players, especially if they're doing like feature matches, right? So I think there's some synergy, and really that could be that stepping stone that we need to move having more coverage together. And again, like if Bushiroad is leading the front with hosting their channel at a regional and the content creators being able to commentate, I think that's a win-win for everybody too. Viewers can to see their favorite YouTubers be able to commentate. They see the community be more tight-knit, especially with the parent company of the game working with its creators in the community too. And also let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think? How are you guys feeling? I feel not only as creators, but as people, we can voice our concerns, but also solutions for this game to thrive moving forward. And if you like this type of content that I've been covering lately, you can check out more of my talks about this, or if you want to see more deck profiles, check out these videos for premium and standard as well. Till next time, amigos. Bye!